It's hard to be a creative person if your body is suffering. Hi, welcome back to The Healthy Writer. In today's video, I'll tell you how I wrote 25 poems in one day. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. When I created this channel, I was in the midst of therapy, and my therapist was continually saying, you have to take care of your body. It affects every single thing you do, and you can't write as much poetry if you're not well. So I thought it would be helpful to go over this one magical day I had back in September where I wrote 25 poems in one day. The first thing I did for that day started the night before. Before I went to bed, I really prepared myself for bed. I had been in the midst of reading James Nestor's book, Breath, here on my shelf and heavily bookmarked. Basically, if you have sleep apnea, this is the book to read, or if you have problems breathing through your nose, or if you have a deviated septum, which can also result in sleep apnea, this is a magical book. I want to dive into this in another video. Digressions aside, the night before my magical day, I did some breath work before bed, alternate nasal or alternate nostril breathing. I did some tongue exercises to strengthen the back of my throat for better sleep. And I also did some foot reflexology for the heart and lungs. So that was kind of the preparation that went into the day before. That day I slept about 7 hours and I drank a can of coconut water, and then I had leftover food from the evening before that I had cooked. If you've ever tried to focus in a messy environment, you might have found it's difficult. So I think the act of cleaning can be beneficial even if you're not remaining in that environment. For me, it takes away some of the future mental load. Even if I know my apartment is messy and I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna feel less inclined to get out of bed if my apartment is messy. It's just oh, I have to do that. So I think cleaning for a half hour took away some of my mental load. And then I went to a coffee shop with a friend for a couple hours. Being able to have some socializing is always good for your brain, depending upon your relationship with the person you're socializing with. But that morning I was with a friend and we had some great conversations. And I think when you're with other humans in person, there's always that kind of exchange where you're learning more about their world, they're learning more about yours. And I think it can be extremely beneficial for creativity to socialize. After I hung out with my friend, I ended up going to a different coffee shop where I had my first coffee of the day, and there I transcribed a Maggie Nelson poem. If you're a creative person, you might look to examples of other people who do the kind of creative work you do as inspiration. So at the second cafe, I ended up writing, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours. When I got home, I decided to walk around and finish reading an essay on poetry I had started at the cafe. But sometimes when you're working on something, thinking about the behind the scenes of its production can be beneficial. So after finishing the essay, I went inside, I did some laundry, I made some more food. I also ate blueberries. Blueberries are one of those magical anti-inflammatory foods, and I notice on days that I eat blueberries, spinach, or salmon, I think more easily, and my mood is generally improved. So if I know I have something important to do, or if I know I'm trying to write something or be especially creative, I will do my best to get blueberries in advance of that, because out of all 3 of those, it's kind of the easiest thing to eat. All you do is wash them off. So I think the blueberries definitely contributed toward all the poems I wrote that day. I took another walk around the neighborhood, continuing to read and write. And one of the things I did that day that I don't normally do, so I should probably try to do it more often, I was writing by hand more often than I normally do. I did write some poems immediately on the computer, but at the cafe I was trying to conserve my battery life, so I ended up writing probably half the poems by hand. I then ended up doing some work for my job, about 30 to 40 minutes, even though it was a Sunday. Sometimes I just like to get ahead for the week. But then as I was doing that work, I felt like I was growing a little tired, so then I returned to writing poetry, and I ended up transcribing more of the poems that I had handwritten. And I made breakfast for the next day, and I wrote a few more poems. In total, I probably wrote between 8 and 10 hours. I finished my last poem sometime after 11 p.m. and I didn't start writing maybe noon, because I think I went to the cafe around 10 with my friend. I think one of the other things to consider about this 25 poem day was that I wasn't trying to write 25 poems in one day. It just kind of happened. They kind of just fell out of me. But I think they fell out because I structured all the things to make that day a good day for my body and mind and heart. I think sometimes we think to be well, we have to do all these things we don't necessarily have to do, but it does help to put systems in place for that kind of well-being to be more automated. Are you ready to structure your own creative day? Here are conditions that can help you. Start prepping the night before. Pick out tomorrow's outfit tonight. Prep meals advance. Tidy your home sphere. Keep your phone away from your bed before you sleep. Optimize good sleep. Eat a hearty breakfast. Hydrate. Designate enjoyable time with loved ones. Work in an environment that enables the most focus. Take breaks. Take walks. Don't get too caught up on the end result. Enjoy the process and the flow. Be open to multiple possibilities. Enjoy inspiring work. Eat foods that boost mental prowess and well-being. Pay attention to how you feel and when you need an energy boost. And finally, celebrate your wins. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notifications. See you next time.